Welcome to the No Quit Living podcast, where we aim to inspire and motivate people to never give up on themselves or their dreams. We will chat with highly successful people from all walks of life and discuss what motivates and drives them to successfully attack life head on and never give up. Welcome to episode number 15 of the No Quit Living podcast. I'm your host, Christopher J. Worth, and today's theme of the day is sharing your gift with others. Our quote of the day comes to us from Pablo Picasso. The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. This episode of the No Quit Living podcast is brought to you by the I3 Initiative. In today's society, it is easy to get caught up in the drama, negativity, and uncertainty in the universe we are a part of. Against those challenges, we are committed to make the world a better place through improvement, impact, and integrity. You are invited to join our mission and learn more about our book club, membership, live events, and mastermind at i3initiative.com. That's the letter I, the number 3, initiative.com. I'm very excited to bring you today's episode. Our guest is a very talented individual that clearly understands the importance of helping others. As a New York Times best-selling author, as well as a very successful podcast host, he gets his message out to millions of people with the hope of making a positive difference in their lives. It is my pleasure to introduce Steve Olsher. Steve, I wanted to welcome you to the No Quit Living podcast.
Okay, cool. Thank you for having me.
No, I appreciate it. Totally our pleasure. So as I know your time is important, why don't we jump into today's session? With the negativity throughout the media today, the foundation of our podcast is to motivate and inspire people to never give up. Do you have a personal story about perseverance or perhaps a challenging time that tested you, but you kept on going and never quit?
I believe I would be the poster child for exactly that. I mean, the reality is there hasn't been an easy trek at any stage really of my career. I mean, I'm really jealous of the people that just kind of seem to ease into things, and there's never like any, doesn't appear to be any trial or tribulation or anything like that. And I'm always jealous of those folks because, reality is, man, for me, it's always been just a huge learning curve in trying to get to where it is that I anticipate wanting to go. One of my clearest stories. I mean, it actually feels like it was yesterday. It was when I was a long time ago. When I'm showing my age here, but a long time ago when we were launching on CompuServe's electronic mall. The fact is that at the time they hadn't seen anything in the landscape that we were playing in, which was in the alcohol beverage arena there, where we were actually selling wine and champagne and spirits and gift baskets. And we knew that the electronic world would provide a good platform for us to be able to introduce what we were doing to the masses. But CompuServe really didn't want to have anything to do with us because of the fact that we were focused on beverage alcohol. And it literally took us about 6 to 8 to 9 months of lobbying just to let us onto their electronic mall. And reality is, did it come, out of the gate like gangbusters and we sold millions of dollars in products? The answer is no. But it was certainly one of those times where it just proved that you can't always take no for an answer. And if you just are one of those folks who just sits back and allows people to kind of dictate the terms to you, you're really going to be living by the whims and the agendas of others. And so this was one of those opportunities where I felt like we really needed to take advantage of the e-commerce space, and we were getting a lot of resistance and a lot of pushback, at least for that platform. And at the time, that platform was really the only option. It was the main option. And so we stayed the course, and in the long run, it really paid off.
How long was it before you really start to see some of that hard work come to fruition?
Sometimes it never does. I mean, that's the reality. Sometimes it never does. Sometimes it can happen fairly quickly, but in a lot of cases, especially if you're in the arenas of real estate or tech or any of those areas like we play in, it's nice to kind of sit back and think that you're going to get that quick return. You can just do a quick flip or flop kind of thing. But those opportunities are fairly few and far between where you can really make a lot of money in a short period of time.
That's a good point. So it leads me to the next question, is that fact that many of our listeners are into personal development. And I was curious if you have either a favorite book or if there's something that you read recently that you'd like to recommend to our listeners.
From a personal development standpoint, I'm kind of old school, and one of the earliest books that I ever read in that realm, and this is going to sound funny, but it was actually Dianetics, and I read that when I was in junior high, and it was this crazy story that was positioned in ways, just the focus on that book was it was eye-opening from the standpoint of, like, I had never really heard of anyone talking in that way before, but it was also encouraging because I had never heard anyone talking in that way before, right? And so it gave me an opportunity to really understand that, you can kind of do your own thing, and there's some people who are going to love you and some people are going to hate you, but at the end of the day, you really have to figure out that there's no life in neutral land. You got to be willing to let people line up on either side of you, and have an opinion one way or the other, because otherwise you're kind of invisible. And so for me, it was just one of those moments where it was like, God, this is just the weirdest, strangest stuff, and more powerful stuff, but odd. And it just kind of said to me, hey, you can pretty much do whatever you want.
I've never heard of that book, Dianetics, so I'll definitely have to take a look at that. Speaking of books, I just last week finished your New York Times best-selling book, What Is Your What? And I really enjoyed it. What inspired you to write the book, and how did you come up with the title?
Well, I can't take credit for the title, and I can't really take credit for the content in the book, because I don't know, man. If you've ever really sat down to write, I think you'd see that it just kind of channels through you. I don't really know how to explain it, but I don't know where it came from. I mean, in terms of what inspired me to write it, for my adult life, I've really struggled with that question of, what is it that I'm really here to do, and how am I naturally wired to excel? And when I had pursued some of the available modalities, like the Myers-Briggs or the what color is your parachutes, etc., those all really just kind of left me with more questions than answers. And so in Authorland, they say that you write the book that you most need. And so that was really what I needed, was a framework that would help me gain clarity on what it is that I do well, how I can make money doing that, and who it is that I'm really just compelled to serve. And that's really what comprised the What Is Your What framework. And in terms of the name and the content, again, I just really sat down and kind of let it come through me. And that's a really good question. I mean, I can't answer where the name came from.
It's interesting. I had Bob Berg on, one of my guests, and we were talking about writing books. And one of the things he mentioned is he said that he likes having the book being written and finished, but he does not like the process of actually writing the book. So it's interesting that people have different perspectives, especially you and Bob, who have written best-selling books. So it's interesting to get people's perspectives.
Yeah, and I actually had Bob on my show, Reinvention Radio, and we had a nice little chat about that. And it's true. I mean, there are people who, it's just like anything else, man. It's like, there are people who just really thrive in certain arenas and just don't in others. And for me, I mean, I definitely enjoy the process of sitting down and writing, but it's a discipline thing, finding the time and literally carving out the time to be able to write is something that I'm not so good at. So I need help in other arenas.
It's interesting that you get different perspectives, and I will definitely have to go back and listen to Bob's podcast when he appeared on yours. I have not listened to that. One thing I noticed online is that you provide free downloads for your book, and I think that is really cool. I was just curious, what led you to give away your book for free, especially when so many people charge a premium for their books?
It's interesting, and I've heard it said in a number of different ways in terms of structure. I mean, you can give away a chapter and get people warmed up about it and then get them into, the whole book and sell it to them. Or you can do it the way I do it, which is give away the book and then try to move folks into other products, programs, and services or keynotes or, the other things that you might offer. And so I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to look at how you leverage the assets that you've created. For me, I really give away the book because I know that if you can discover what it is that really puts fire in your soul and you go out and you do that with strategic abandon, then you're going to not only, of course, serve those who are literally waiting for you to show up in their lives, but you're also going to make this world a better place because you're going to be doing something that adds value for the rest of us. And that in turn makes this world a better place for me. It makes it a better place for my children, for my children's children, and so on. So I guess you could say I give the book away for selfish reasons.
No, I think it's interesting that you do that. And I've actually shared some of your links and things with other people. So hopefully it will help as far as down the road. But I think it's just a really neat perspective in regards to, I believe, talking about kind of the karma concept where you have different ways of helping people and reaching out. And maybe people don't read certain books because they can't afford them or they don't want to buy them. So I think maybe you're probably onto something here in regards to offering some of those free downloads. As we are always looking to grow from other successful people, do you have a specific morning or daily ritual that you feel has been instrumental to your success?
Waking up. I mean, what's the alternative, right? So, no, I'm not. I wake up and I go. Some days I wake up and I go, damn, I'm actually awake. And other days I wake up and I go, okay, I got stuff to do. I mean, reality is, I'm not one of those like sunshine blown out of my ass kind of people. I mean, I just I have my troubles, just like most of the world. And some days I'm really fired up to get out of that bed, and other days I wish there were another 10 hours of sleep. I don't have a morning routine other than hoping that somebody doesn't wake me up at 5 a.m. That's pretty much my only routine that I have.
Yeah, I will add that part in the end of the show, but that will be a comment for later on. But again, apologies 100% on that. One of the areas we often discuss with our guests is getting out of your comfort zone. And I was curious if you can attribute any of your success to something specific that you've done out of your comfort zone.
I mean, look, truth is, and this applies to any area of your life, which is there's always going to be a first time that you're going to do something, whether it's eating a turkey sandwich or whether it's doing a bench press or whether it's sitting down to write or whatever it might be. There's always going to be a first time that you try to do something. And anytime there is a first time that you try to do something, it's going to be out of your comfort zone. And so I think people just have to take just look at it differently. In other words, when you do something that you haven't done before, there's going to be various degrees on sort of the scale of 0 to 10 on how that's going to impact your life. But reality is, if you look at all of those things in the same way, you'll find that your comfort zone is really just an illusion, right? And there's nothing that's going to, I mean, look, obviously if you try to, do something that's life or death, that's one thing. But for the most part, what you're going to do isn't going to kill you. You may not like the taste of something, or you may not make $1 million with the idea, or you may not make a new friend, or you may not excel in that particular sport. But, in the scheme of things, it's all really just the same on the scale. I mean, it's all going to be somewhere pretty much right in the middle of being completely innocuous or being something that, really has the potential for serious impact. And so for me, the comfort zone is really just an illusion. And I think anytime we do something new, whatever it is, you're out of that zone because you haven't done it before. And so really at the end of the day, it's just a matter of scratching your head and just kind of going, why did I make that out to be such a big deal? And looking back on it and recognizing that, whether it was taking that roller coaster ride or asking a girl out or whatever it might be, it wasn't such a big thing. And so I think we just make this comfort zone and things that, we're willing to do and things that we aren't willing to do. I think we put so much weight on that we just don't do what we need to do.
That's an interesting perspective, and I think a lot of people paralysis by analysis of, to your comment, of doing something new for the first time, whether it's asking a girl out or a business venture or whatnot. And I think a lot of people just get, in essence, paralyzed by fear of what's the unknown. And I think part of our image of our podcast is really to hopefully help inspire and motivate people to go for it. And, worst case scenarios, you're going to fail, but best case scenarios, you might find something new you like, or you might hit it out of the park in regards to a new business or venture. I wanted to ask you, is there anything exciting that you're working on right now or coming out soon that you'd like to share with our listeners?
So there's a couple of things. So I continue to work on Reinvention Radio and bringing interesting folks and introducing them, to my listeners. And so really do appreciate the support for those who listen to the show. And what is most exciting right now is, I get a lot of questions about how do I gain visibility for my business or what I'm working on, et cetera. And reality is, the only thing that's separating you from getting what it is that you really want out of life and out of your business is having enough people knowing about what it is that you're doing. So we created an event, a live event, that gives people the ability, the people who want to gain more exposure, more visibility, more recognition, give those people an opportunity to connect with those, as we're calling them, icons of influence, who have high visibility platforms. So we're basically pairing people who want visibility with people who have high visibility platforms and giving the attendees a chance to sit down and meet one-on-one with some of the world's biggest podcasters and bloggers and social media stars, in the hope that they actually leave that event with bookings on those respective channels. And so that's called the New Media Summit. And the New Media Summit is pretty exciting because there's really no other event like it, at least certainly not in this space. And it's a very tangible outcome, unlike most events where you go and you learn, which is great, but you may not implement. In this case, you actually not only learn, but you leave with tangible bookings in hand.
No, that's interesting. I was just about to say that I've never heard of something like that, so I'll definitely have to. When is the next summit coming about?
Yeah, it's September 22nd through the 24th in San Diego, and you can get details at newmediasummit.net. So newmediasummit.net.
Here's an outside of the box question for you. If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I mean, that's pretty easy for me. On my arm, I've got the words "Let Love Rule" tattooed, and I've always been a huge Lenny Kravitz fan. So for me, it would definitely be Lenny. There's no doubt about that. That's an easy answer.
I did not know that about "Let Love Rule" being written on your arms. That was an easy one, and it's always interesting to get people's perspectives as far as who they would be. Some have people that you have heard of, and some people have some people that you never would expect. So you're the first one who has actually mentioned a musician. So you are the first to crack that regard. Often in life, I find that successful people have mentors, and I was curious if you've had any mentors or memorable mentors in your life that have helped you to the success you've achieved today.
The biggest mentor that I've had over the course of my life really has been my grandfather, and I had a chance to work with him for about 4 years before he died, and he was definitely not only a huge influence from a personal perspective, but also from a business perspective as well. So, I mean, it was definitely my grandfather, no doubt about that, and he was one of the kindest, smartest, most giving people I ever knew.
That sounds awesome. What did you do with him for those 4 years that you were lucky to work with him?
So he had started something called Foremost liquor stores, which is based out of Chicago, and there were locations across the country. And so we worked together on that. I actually worked together on a small piece of the puzzle there, which ended up becoming liquor.com, which I still own to this day. It's been through a lot of iterations. We don't have to get into details about that. But yeah, we worked together in the liquor business.
That sounds awesome. Before we let you go, I wanted to ask you if you have any parting words for our listeners.
Well, the focus of the show here is really on not quitting. So oftentimes the reason why we quit is because we don't see the benefit to ourselves for the work that we're doing or the effort that we're putting forth. And so what I encourage people to think about, and if you go through the What Is Your What book, you'll see that the What Is Your What framework is really based on understanding what your core gift is, what the primary vehicle is that you use to share your gift with the world, and who the people are that you're most compelled to serve. And so it's the combination of those three elements that make up the What Is Your What framework. So what I really do ask people to think about is, is there someone that is literally waiting for me to show up in their life? And the answer unequivocally is yes. And so just keep in mind that really you are the solution to someone else's problem. And when you don't follow through with sharing the gift that you've been given, and share that with them with strategic abandon, I mean, you really are not only doing, of course, a huge disservice to yourself, but to also those who are literally waiting for you to show up in their life. So even if it's hard for you to persevere because of what you've got going on and your own internal battles there, I would say to just think about those people. And the only way that you're really going to impact not only those who share this lifetime with you, but also those of lifetimes to come, is to dig your heels in and really focus on those that you're most compelled to serve. And that'll help keep you going.
You shared some really interesting stuff. And I think a lot of people sometimes possibly forget that they have the ability to really have a positive impact on somebody. And it could be something small. Obviously, it could be something huge. But I really appreciate you sharing that with us. And then last question, and it's a very easy one, is what is the best way for our listeners to connect with you?
Well, you mentioned the book, and we've been talking about the book. So I certainly suggest folks take a look at whatisyourwhat.com/free. So whatisyourwhat.com/free, and grab a free copy of that book. And if you survive that and you're still interested in learning more, check out Reinvention Radio or Steve Olsher, OLSHER.com.
Well, listen, Steve, I can't thank you enough for being a guest on our show. I truly appreciate you, and I look forward to hopefully speaking with you soon. To sum up today's episode and our theme of the day, sharing your gift with others, Steve shared his unique perspective on life and success with us. In a day and age where many people chase the almighty dollar, Steve takes a very different approach. One thing I found to be incredibly impressive was the fact that he gives away his New York Times best-selling book, What Is Your What, for free. While many other authors charge a premium, Steve provides his book free of charge. In his parting message, Steve spoke about the importance of not quitting. He mentioned that many people often quit because they don't see the benefit of all the hard work that they are doing. He then discussed why it is so important to not only find your core gift in life, but to share it with others. He touched upon how someone might just be waiting for you to show up in their lives today. The question for you is, who can you help? Who could you have that positive impact on right now? And who might be waiting for you to help them succeed in life? So when you might be thinking about quitting because you don't see the benefit from all your hard work, don't. Don't quit and don't give up. Keep going just a little bit more and go for your greatness. And lastly, to our listeners, thank you. We truly appreciate your time, and we hope our episodes inspire you to keep on attacking life and never giving up. To quote Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, it's always too early to quit.